We're tracking more rain and possible storms this evening, making for a first warning weather day. Thanks for joining us, everyone. At 6, I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Jordyn Jagalinzer. The heat and humidity sticking around today as well. For the latest on what we can expect, let's send things over to meteorologist Janna Brown. Janna, you've been busy in the Weather Center.
It was an early start to the storms today, you guys. So we've already seen some really nasty weather come through, and that was not long after noon. This was a storm that moved into Chicopee, and this was a shot that John sent into us. You can see some low cloud cover here, similar to what we saw yesterday with some wall clouds that actually formed. Doesn't look like maybe that was the case in this storm system, but there were some severe storms that rolled across Hampshire County earlier, and we did get a few damaging wind reports out of the Northampton area, Granby, also in Belchertown. Right now, we do have a severe storm that we are tracking. It seems like it's broken up a little bit, but Great Barrington is still under that severe thunderstorm warning. There's another piece of it that's actually moved out toward Otis. Looks like maybe a little bit of lightning, mostly just some really intense rainfall, though. This broken line is likely going to start moving into Hamden County as we go through maybe 7, 8 o'clock p.m. And there's still a chance for some thunderstorms and a very low risk for an additional severe thunderstorm. That watch is going to be up through 8 p.m. But honestly, our chances are a lot lower than they were earlier in the day. Lots of clouds out there right now. It is warm and muggy, 79 with a dew point at 70 here in Springfield. Breezes are on the light side. So it's going to stay warm throughout the rest of the evening. Dew points probably won't move much. Even as a cold front passes through, we're not expecting a whole lot of change. The chance for showers continues through about 10 p.m. We are mostly cloudy and muggy overnight and still warm and humid, but mainly quiet for Friday. We'll take a look at your full forecast in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Janna, thanks. Our live team coverage of storm damage continues with Western Mass News reporter Leon Purvis, who's live for us in Granby. Leon, what can you tell us about damage there?
Chris, just down the street from here in Belchertown, we saw trees and branches down in several places. Now, one of those trees down across a driveway causing trouble for the homeowner who has to keep her car parked on the side of the road until the tree can be cleared. Utility lines were brought down as well. Fortunately, no one was injured. Now, we also saw some down trees in the middle of the roadway as we were driving around. We're told 60 National Grid customers in Belchertown are without power. Live in Granby, Leon Purvis, Western Mass News.
Leon, thanks. New unemployment state data is out for cities and towns across Massachusetts.
The city of Springfield checks in with the third highest jobless rate in the entire state.
Western Mass News reporter Lindsay Kane is live in our downtown studios with more. Lindsay?
Here in Springfield, more than a quarter of the workforce is out of work, and local officials say people are having a hard time making ends meet.
That's unfortunate. There are a lot of people in the city of Springfield that are feeling the financial pinch.
Roughly 25% of the workforce living in Springfield is unemployed, according to new data from the state. This new June rate is up nearly 5% from April.
With retail, MGM, which was shut for quite some time, restaurants and things like that, really the sectors have really been badly affected by the coronavirus.
Springfield's unemployment rate is the third highest in the state, right behind Lawrence and Revere. Taking a look now in Western Mass, Chicopee has a 20% unemployment rate. East Longmeadow has roughly 15% of residents out of work, and Agawam is near 16%.
It's essential for us as government to make sure that we keep that in mind when we're talking about expenditures and how we're going to spend taxpayer money and how we're going to accommodate some of the needs that our residents have.
But over in Springfield, City Councilor Orlando Ramos tells Western Mass News that the pandemic has hit the city hard.
Businesses are seeing the struggle, and we've tried to do whatever we can to make up for some of those losses for businesses.
He says he understands the difficulties many families are going through firsthand.
I lost my job because of COVID. I was laid off, and the extra $600 helps. But it doesn't pay for health care. It doesn't pay for the benefits that come with having full-time employment.
Ramos says the high unemployment rate in the city shows that the workforce needs to be restored.
I've never taken a sick day in my life, and I'm not used to being out of work, and I'm sure that there are many people like me who just are just not used to being out of work for so long.
To track both the employment and unemployment rates in your town, head to our website. That's westernmassnews.com. Live in Springfield, Lindsay Kane, Western Mass News.
Lindsay, thanks for that live report. And for more coverage on the coronavirus emergency as it develops, log on to our free Western Mass News streaming app. The lawyer representing the former Holyoke Soldiers Home superintendent is holding a press conference today trying to clear his client's name.
Attorney William Bennett says the decisions made by his nephew, Bennett Walsh, and the medical staff at the home did not contribute to the spread of COVID-19 that would eventually leave 76 veterans dead.
A Western Mass News reporter, Audrey Russo, was at that conference earlier today and spoke exclusively with family members who lost their veteran loved ones in the outbreak. She joins us now live with more. Audrey.
Attorney Bennett spent much of the press conference explaining that the decision to combine the memory care units at the home and thus COVID positive and negative patients together did not contribute or play a role in the spread of the virus. Attorney William Bennett went on to explain that this was a decision that was criticized in Governor Charlie Baker's independent investigation that was ordered into the home. Attorney Bennett then went on to explain that more pieces of that independent investigation were inaccurate. Attorney William Bennett says his client, former Holyoke Soldiers Home Superintendent Bennett Walsh, did all he could with his medical staff to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 through the halls. He says by the time the two memory care units were combined, it didn't matter because many of the veteran residents were either positive for the virus or already had been exposed. Attorney Bennett says the uncontrollable spread of COVID-19 is evidenced further by the fact that over 40 healthy veterans were sent to Holyoke Medical Center, and only after arriving at the hospital did they get sick.
And all the people that they sent had all tested negative for the virus. They were clean.
We spoke with Lori Mandeville-Bodette, whose father was one of the veterans moved to Holyoke Medical Center. She says the virus's long incubation period contradicts Bennett's claim.
William Bennett had made a comment that it takes 4 to 5 days to contract the virus. Well, I'm telling you, within 48 hours, my father had symptoms from leaving the soldiers' home. So where did he contract the virus? He contracted it at the soldiers' home.
Attorney Bennett gave the media a packet which contained emails between Bennett Walsh and home officials listing the daily count of personal protective equipment in the home, saying the facility was stocked.
And I think Mr. Walsh is the only person in the United States who put together a plan to make sure there would be adequate PPE, successfully executed that plan, and then was criticized for it.
From the documents provided by Attorney Bennett, which included new shipments, the number of the N95 masks in their supply did not decrease between March 23rd and March 26th, after the first positive patient had been identified. A member of the Massachusetts Nurses Association says that indicates the home did have PPE, but didn't distribute it to staff in that time, something she tells Western Mass News Bennett Walsh admitted to in a meeting.
I asked him specifically more than once in this March 24th meeting, what are you saving these masks and face shields for? And he says that, he's thinking about this in terms of the long term, that he sees this more as a marathon.
Mandeville-Bodette says she's hurt by the assertion that their experiences weren't considered accurate.
He has no clue what we're going through, the trauma that we live every time we have to think about this or speak about it.
Now, in the listing of PPE that was provided to us by Attorney Bennett, you can see that the isolation mask count and the face shield count was varying in between those two dates of March 23rd and March 26th. However, the N95 masks are largely considered to be more effective in protecting against the virus. In Holyoke, Audrey Russo for Western Mass News.
Audrey, thanks for that live report. Protesters gathering earlier today in Springfield in response to President Trump's announcement to deploy federal agents in some cities. People held up signs against federal agents in Portland and how they're handling protesters. The Portland mayor was pepper sprayed in riots last night, and the organizer of the Code Pink Coalition of Peace tells Western Mass News the violence needs to stop.
This is a dire time. The federal troops are moving into cities and causing quite major disruptions. I happened to be in Washington, D.C. when the federal troops were brought in there, and the whole atmosphere was tense and really terrible.
Protesters here say that they want peace across the nation.